So back here in the create event function, in the events go file, now that we know that we have at least some kind of token, we can check whether it's a valid token by using the utils package and calling verify token in there. And to verify token, I pass that token which I extracted from the request. Now as a result, I will get back an error, at least potentially. And therefore, since I'm creating an error variable here, we should just reassign it down here. But here, where I now call verify token, I of course want to check if the error is not equal to nil, which means we got an error, and that in turn means that the token is not valid. And therefore here, I then of course want to send back an error response with that unauthorized status code and a message of not authorized. And thereafter, I return so that no other code gets executed. Well, and that should therefore then be it. This should ensure that only requests that have a valid token as a value for the authorization header will be able to create events. Therefore, now to test this all, I will actually delete the database file so that we start with a clean database again. And then I'll try to create an event. So here, I send a post request to /events with some dummy data, and I'll now run my server here. And with that up and running, I will now try sending this request. And as you see, I'm getting back not authorized here. So that's looking good, because this shouldn't work. On the other hand, if I try to get all events, of which we at the moment have none, but if I try this, you see I got a success response. I got no data here, which makes sense, because we have no events yet, but the request itself worked, because this route is not protected. So let's now try to create a new user. And for that here, I'll use test@example.com and this dummy password. And if I send this request, that works, because this route also isn't protected, and it shouldn't be, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to sign up at all. And therefore now we can of course also try logging in with that user. So with test@example.com and the password I just chose. And here we now get back such a token. And we will now need that token here. So I will use this token and then again send this create event request. And there we now need to add a second header right below content type, and that would be the authorization header. And then as a value, simply that token. And that's now our ticket in the end, that we send to the server and that will tell the server that this request is coming from a logged in user. So with that, if I send this, we should be able to create an event. But as you see, I'm still getting not authorized here. And it is not working here because the secret key I'm returning here in the verify token function and there in this inner anonymous function is of course a string. It's my super secret constant string here. But you might recall that for signing we had to convert that to such a byte slice. Well, we have to do that here as well. So what I return in this inner anonymous function should not be the raw string key, but instead the key converted to a byte slice. And with that done, if you run this again and you try to create an event again with that token from before still attached, you will see that now this works. We got back a success response code and we did add our data here. And of course, we can also verify that if we then get a list of all events. If I get all events here, you see here we got that one event we just created. So that is working. One thing that's not really working the way it should yet though is how we create that event. Because at the moment in create event, we always set the user ID of the connected user to 1. So that's a hard-coded value here. And the ID of the event itself is also always set to 1 here still. And I will actually change the event ID assignment here right now already, because when we call event save, we'll auto-generate an ID in the database anyways. But I also, of course, don't want to use the same hard-coded user ID for all events. Instead, it should be the ID of the user who did create the event. And we'll take care about that next.